Hey guys, Scripture here with another video, and I have to deal with this weirdest scene maybe I've ever seen in Star Wars. I get it. I get that there's been weird stuff. I know the Night Sisters, blah, 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 which I was never into because, again, it's generic magic in Star Wars and the Force is supposed to be mysterious, blah, 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 blah. But the Acolyte showrunner Leslie Headland on Space Witch's bizarre black smoke form, I believe that Anastasia is transforming herself and May into the Force. You believe that? Well, you wrote it. Either she is or she isn't. I also didn't notice, this is a funny screenshot, definitely they CGI'd the mouth and lips to get all weird, and then she's got, fangs or something. It's just... According to showrunner Leslie Headland, the absolute bizarre black smoke cloud form taken on by Mother Anastasia in the latest episode of The Acolyte was a result of her literally transforming herself and May into the Force. I mean, what are the implications of that? I don't know how you justify this. We're essentially now saying that these witches are the most powerful Force users ever in a sense. If they're able to do something like that. And I know the other one also did the same thing. She turned into the black smoke, whatever the fart, whatever you want to call it. The Darth Mom, this one. And then went into Chewbacca's uncle's body. And so they're taking, essentially she's taking this whole Force essence transfer thing. And giving it to these witches. And I think they're going to start normalizing the Force essence thing. You know, we have the very real possibility of Abeloth coming in Ahsoka Season 2, who does the same sort of thing. Again, I'm not a huge fan, not because it's necessarily bad. It can be, depending on how it's done. I'm just not a fan of this big change in Star Wars, and it started with the Clone Wars, where the Force and the mystery of the Force just isn't enough. We have to get into just stuff we've seen in other fantasy and medieval fantasy a million times. We've seen this type of thing. Oh, the spirit comes out of the person and goes into the other person. You know, we've seen this before. And so, to me, it just takes away from Star Wars. It makes it less unique when you're doing things like this. And I also think you can tell stories without doing this. This is not necessary. But again, that's what they're doing. And so they're, in some ways, maybe preparing the audience for Ahsoka Season 2 by having it in this. Anyway, as seen in Disney Star Wars series 7th episode, Choice, the leader of the Space Witch, Coven, shows off this canonically new ability during the Jedi's outreach mission to recruit Osha into their order. Following her initial refusal, to allow her daughter to train with them, Mother Anastasia is eventually met with a second plea from Master Soul, who assures the Space Witch, I guess, that the Jedi come with noble intentions. However, after the Jedi asks her as to the circumstances of the twins' birth, the Space Witch rebuffs her guests and dismisses, "Someday those noble intentions you all have will destroy every Jedi in the galaxy." Which is not a compelling line, people. People think it is, but it really isn't, because it's not like this is a prediction that's based on a lack of knowledge. That's what happens. So then Leslie Headland, to make this character seem super uber smart, made her say that. But she's dumb, because we'll see in a minute here. With this declaration, the tension between the Jedi and the Space Witch forces becomes nearly palpable, each side waiting with bated breath for the other to make its first move in the anticipated battle for Osha's future. Enter May, who, having just realized that her attempt to burn Osha alive in order to prevent her from joining the Jedi is actually producing results, bursts into the meeting area crying for her mother's help to save her sister. Upon hearing her daughter's cries, Mother Coral kicks into mother mode, drawing her staff and moving to strike against the Jedi. Now, having said that, though, she had already been in battle mode. She's told the witches to prepare for battle. The witches are all standing there pointing their arrows at the Jedi. So she was ready to fight anyway. She was going to fight no matter what. In response, Master Torben draws his own lightsaber and prepares to stand in defense of Master Soul. Yeah, and this is really awkward because they pull out their weapons, they just kind of stand there staring at each other for no reason. It's just it's super cheese. And it is here that Mother Anastasia takes on her new form, as in response to this shot heard round the space witch Coven, the magic user, her eyes signaling the change by first turning pitch black, turns herself into a cloud of black smoke and attempts to protectively drape herself over her daughter. But before she can, her life is brought to an end by Master Soul, who, attacking out of instinct, draws his own lightsaber in defense and somehow delivers a fatal stab wound to a fart. Confused by that entire cap? Well, you're not alone. Well, one of the biggest problems with this whole scene is, at the end of it, once she gets stabbed, Anastasia is like, oh, I was going to tell you you could take Osha with you. And it's like, why didn't you say that at the beginning? Like, she's standing there doing nothing. Her wife pulls out a staff or something to kill the Jedi. She's watching this all happen. Torben ignites his lightsaber. Maybe right around there. May's not in the crossfire at this point. She's over on the side. She's not in danger yet. Maybe at that point you'd be like, hey guys, calm down. We're going to let them take Osha. No, instead she turns into a cloud, a mist, and then gets stabbed. Like, all of this could have been prevented. Everything with the Wookiee, everything that happened could have been prevented if Mother Anastasia would have just said, yes, you guys can take Osha, which she had already decided. But instead of just saying that, like a normal human being, to make this happen, I guess, and have her die at the hands of a Jedi so that May could be mad later in life and kill them all. This is the best that Leslie Headland could come up with, that she just doesn't say that and lets it all happen instead, including all the witches dying. Like, it's just, none of it makes any sense. It's such a stupid show. Like, you're a horrible writer, Leslie. I'm sorry, but you're horrible, because things have to make sense. You had to make Soul kill her or do whatever you needed to have done to make May pissed off. You had to do that in a way that made sense, and her not saying anything doesn't make sense. So it's a really stupid scene. And then again, how do you stab Mist? That doesn't make any sense. As per even the briefest of reviews of any social media platform, most viewers walked away from the episode wondering as to just what the hell they had watched. To this end, Headland would eventually clarify viewers' confusion, not during the episode itself, but rather a post-episode interview given to the Nerdist's Michael Walsh. Well, because she doesn't even know. She doesn't even know. Pressed by Walsh, when May asks for help, Anastasia not only starts dematerializing her own body, she makes May turn into a shadow as well. Which, of course, freaked Soul out. He probably thought she was killing her. So he did, the only thing he could think of was to stab his lightsaber in there and hope and see what happens. Again, why didn't she just say something? It's so stupid. What can you tell us about what exactly is happening there and why? The showrunner explained, Anastasia's main concern is that violence will be used in this confrontation. Well, then why didn't you say something? All she had to do was just say something the entire time. Just say, you guys can take Osha. That's all she had to do. Doesn't make any sense. And if she had said that, the Jedi would have immediately sprung into action to find Osha, because there's fire and everything. They would have been like, oh no, where is she? Is she safe? Which they probably would have found her. They probably would have saved her. We wouldn't have Soul having to make a choice, even though he should have just lifted the girls off with the Force anyway, but wouldn't have had to make a choice. So it's just stupidity upon stupidity upon stupidity upon stupidity, and it's a snowball rolling down a hill, and as the audience are like, everyone in this show is a moron. Like, there's no just simple sense with any of it. Mother Anastasia actor Jodie Turner-Smith and I talked about that meaning two things, recalled Headland. One, that Anastasia must have come from some place that utilized violence. Okay, it's something she would have seen when she was a child, something that she would have endured in her coming of age, so the main concern is obviously the safety of her children. The physical safety of them. The secondary concern is, I do not want my children or my legacy to be affected by something violent. I want to remove them from whatever it is. Then say something. Just say something. Like, again, this is so stupid. The why about the dematerializing is the first thing that Jodie and I talked about in seeding the character, she continued. What she is doing is what Jackie says in episode 4, that it's an honor to see anyone transform into the Force. I believe that Anastasia is transforming herself and May into the Force in a way that doesn't kill them. I believe. Well, you wrote it, so it's not a belief. It is, or isn't it? Like, you believe that? Like, what is it then? And see, and this is where, like, in another interview, if you watch my other video there from the other day, when she's talking to the Mary Sue, she's very insecure. She laughs insecurely. I don't think she really knew what story she was trying to tell. Because if she did, she'd say, Anastasia is transforming herself and May into the Force. She wouldn't say, I believe that. Like, you wrote it, so it's not a belief, it is or it isn't. And this is the problem. I think it took 4 years to make this show, in part because this person didn't know what story she wanted to tell. I think she just wanted to do something that led into the Phantom Menace, and she thought she was going to do something trendy and neat. And I think she was told by Kathleen Kennedy to do her own story, and then she admitted that it's about her and her sister. In the process of that, I think she just completely lost grip on what the point of it is, because none of this makes sense. And the idea that she's transforming herself into the Force, and that means turning into a black smoke cloud. The versions of turning yourself into Force that we have goes all the way back to the original Star Wars when Obi-Wan gives himself into the Force. He literally just disappears. There's no black fart. There's no nothing. He just disappears. So I don't see that making any sense, and she probably doesn't either, and that's why she uses the term I believe, because that doesn't make any sense. And so what? So then her wife turned into the Force, which is a black fart, and then went into the Wookiee? Okay, so if that was the case, that they could just turn into a fart and go into anybody that they wanted, why wouldn't they turn into a fart and go into Osha? Like, she doesn't even know where she is. And the building's burning down, and she's just standing there not saying anything, not telling anybody that they can take Osha, which is dumb enough already. Why wouldn't you turn into the fart and go into Osha and get her out of there? And why wouldn't your stupid wife, Darth Mom, turn into the fart and go into May and get her out of there? Or just pick them up and get them out of there. Like, at no point were the Jedi like, we're going to kill everybody and take the kids. There was none of that happened. The only violence came from the witches' side. And then Carrie-Anne Moss was forced to defend and protect the Wookiee from killing everybody by stopping the spell. And the idea that she would know that that would kill all these stupid witches. So this whole thing is just absolutely ridiculous. She's not turning herself into the Force. She's turning herself into some evil thing that can go into people. And again, I believe that, because I don't even think she knew what she was doing. I don't. Because if you think about it, May starts disappearing. Like, what? Like, I don't think she knew what she was doing. I think she got a visual. I don't think this show was at all planned out. It looks like they did a lot of reshoots. It took 4 years. And it looks like they just kind of jumbled it all together and tried to tell a story after shooting the show. That's what it feels like. It feels like she had no plan. She had a sort of an idea, but it got all convoluted. And then she had a bunch of footage, and then they just re-edited it into a story that they just made up after the fact. That's what it looks like to me. And there you have it, Star Wars fans. Official canon confirmation that the Force is, at least to some extent, literally female. Yeah, and it's just dumb. It's all so stupid. None of it makes any sense. I'm dumbfounded by this show. I mean, you guys let me know in the comment section what you think. If you like this content, guys, please like and subscribe. It always helps the channel. Feel free to check out anything else on my channel. Have yourselves a really good day.